Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a video guide for you about Bangalore in Apex Legends. This has been one of the more challenging guides for me to make because the way Bangalore plays is kind of the opposite of the things that I enjoy in a character, but that by no means makes her bad. Considering her moveset and the way people play her and how everything fits together, she's actually one of the better or stronger Legends in Apex Legends. And she's good on all systems too. She's equally good on console and on PC, so let's jump straight into the stats and this guide. Her passive is called Double Time, and quite simply it gives you a movement speed boost every time you take incoming fire. The speed that you get is plus 25%, this was recently nerfed, and the duration is 2 seconds. While the duration isn't very long, it's important to note that this resets for each and every incoming bullet or explosion, so in gunfights it's pretty much always on, and you should expect to have it always on unless the enemies just aren't even looking at you. And of note here, you don't actually have to be shot for this to work. You just kind of have to be shot near. They kind of have to get close to you, kind of, sorta, close to a grenade, in the vicinity of an airstrike, or sometimes just generally close to a gunfight that doesn't even involve you. I've had bullets fly over my head or miss me by a margin that I thought was enormous, and I still got the passive, which was nice. And this passive is easily her best ability, and it's what makes her one of the strongest characters in the game, and it's one of the strongest passives, if not the strongest passive in a game, because it's essentially like having a free Bloodhound ultimate speed boost in every single gunfight. Every gunfight you get into just about, this is going to pop, you're going to be able to move really fast, reposition better than everybody else. Obviously, it's useful for running away. When people are shooting at you, chasing you, and you're struggling to survive, you can just run faster than them, which is great in a battle royale game that's about survival. Personally, I think it's more useful when pushing people super hard to get really aggressive with it and use that speed boost to reposition faster, because it also makes your strafing and climbing faster too. It is an overall character speed boost, so you can ADS and strafe and shoot a little faster than other people can, and climb and mantle and slide faster than other people. The offensive speed attacks or gap closing attacks is really hard to deal with for some players. Some players just can't handle that level of aggression, and you can really clean up bots easily with Bangalore. And I initially found it somewhat annoying because the new movement speed would throw off my aim. Like I would kind of have I would get into a feel of all these characters and kind of know how to aim and what to do, and then in a gunfight Bangalore would all of a sudden get a movement speed and I'd be zipping around, and my horizontal stick or WASD keys would throw off my aim. But after playing her for a bit for the purposes of this guide, I kind of love it now. I play other characters and I kind of really miss it. The passive is so intuitive and so natural that I forget that not all characters have this, so I feel slow even when I go back to Pathfinder sometimes. And the only real downside to this ability is that you can't toggle it on or off. It's not a one-button speed boost on. You can't even toggle it off as far as I'm aware, so you just have to sit there and wait to get shot at. If the enemies don't shoot at you, it just never turns on. Or if they reload or run away in a long gunfight, it'll just kind of turn off. So you're not really in control of it, and sometimes enemies will stop shooting at really inconvenient moments that'll throw off your aim or that you're just not expecting, and some weird things can happen, but overall it's a beautiful, beautiful ultimate. Her quick ability is the smoke grenade launcher. This is pretty straightforward in how it works, and that it just launches a big smoke grenade that obscures a large area of the map or whatever building that you're in. You can see a few feet in front of you, but you really can't see through it or into it too far. And if you get close to an enemy, if the grenade lands in any of the three that will pop off, they do a tiny bit of explosive damage. They'll deal 10 damage on impact. It isn't a lot, but it's kind of cute to just give somebody a little explosion damage. The obstruction lasts for 20 seconds. Each one of these, you can stack 2 of them, has a 33-second cooldown, which isn't the longest in the game, but they're not going to be coming back mid-gunfight. Proper use of this smoke grenade launcher is what separates the good and the bad Bangalores. You can use it for a ton of different things because it's just a big utility option. You can use it for preventing long-range gunshots from hitting your squad when you're trying to escape. That's a very common thing. People just shoot it in between the fight and run away. You can do close-range obfuscation of combat if you just want to smoke people out, if you think you can confuse them or reposition or do something better. You can use this to cover a res for a teammate. You can shoot a teammate that's downed with the smoke, and then your medic can run in for a res, or just they can reposition or something and not get shot at. But you can do the same thing. You can smoke a supply drop, so you can loot it safely without fear of being sniped. You can throw smoke on the ground when your buddy gets respawned, so he can't get hosed from a distance, or it's a little more chaotic up close, or getting tags, or just whatever. Maybe just plain old hiding. Maybe you just want to shoot and reposition and go sit on top of a locker or a tree somewhere and hide and hope that nobody sees you. That's an option that you have with the smoke grenades. One thing I personally love doing is shooting it at other teams. You can shoot it at snipers to surround them by smoke, as long as they don't have the digital threat sight, or you can shoot it at the other team in a long-range gunfight and force them to push out of the smoke into you, so you can just light them up as soon as they come out. And it's really awesome if you have a Bloodhound on your team, because Bloodhound can see straight through it with his ultimate. So it's one of the few abilities that really combo with each other in this game, and using Bloodhound and Bangalore is really, really brutal. Both of them have speed boosts too, so you guys can play really aggressive if you do that. There's no hard or fast guide on when to use the smoke. I thought about it for a while, and I was like, I could set up some scenarios and tell you some situations on when and where and how to use it, kind of, but it's really an intangible ability and a situational ability at that. There are smoke placements that would seem illogical that work great. There are some more straightforward ones. And ultimately, you're just going to have to play Bangalore and get used to the game and used to the environments and used to the gunfights to know where the smoke will and won't work. However, my best tip for beginners is to not just look straight down and shoot it at your feet. And I know I do that a fair bit in this video, and it's a very natural thing to do. It's like an octopus in the water. You just drop all this ink and confuse everything. And yeah, that works, but you got to remember you can shoot this thing, and you can shoot it really, really far too. You can shoot it on other teams that are fighting. You can shoot it to obscure sniper shots. You can shoot a team and cover them in smoke and then just push them. You can shoot and push with the digital threat sights for long ranges if you have them. Just you're not limited to just using it defensively. You can use it offensively and in some unusual ways as well. And finally today, let's talk about Bangalore's ultimate, Rolling Thunder. In my opinion, this is the weakest ultimate in the game. It does have some good things in that it calls in a metric ton of missiles that hit the ground and detonate after about 8 seconds. Each one of these missiles is going to deal 80 damage when it pops, which is exactly the same as Gibraltar, and enemies that are hit are slowed down by 35%, or basically they're really slowed, their vision is obscured, they're kind of potatoes for a little bit. On the downside, you'll slow and stun your teammates too, which is somewhat annoying, but at least they don't take damage from it. And I will admit that compared to Gibraltar, this calls in airstrikes in a more predictable pattern over a larger area. However, the detonation time is really the problem, because the missiles fall and then they take 8 seconds after falling to detonate. So you very rarely get missile hits that deal damage. Personally, I don't think I've ever killed anybody with this. I also don't think I've ever hit very many people with it. And when I'm playing, I very rarely even get harmed by enemy Bangalore ults either. Like, I feel stupid when one of them kills me now or harms me in any way. The ultimate is, however, very deadly. If you get stuck in it, it's downright brutal, and everybody knows that. That fact has been established really early on in this game, but since you have 8 seconds to reposition and a lot of the characters have some sort of mobility ability of some kind, the ultimate is primarily a zoning tool. You can use this to throw an ultimate on somebody to cover a res. You can throw it on enemies to shake them up while your team pushes in. Now they'll get stunned, of course, but they won't take damage. You can throw it to actually add more smoke to the ground because you can't see anything through it. You can do it to cover an escape because nobody's going to be crazy enough to push through it. You can sit inside of a building and throw it inside the building and let all the missiles come around your building so people can't push in if you need a second or two to heal. You can do all the basically the same things you can do with Gibraltar's ultimate, but this one isn't going to kill hardly anyone. There are plenty of games that I played where I just didn't even find an opportunity to use her ultimate because I would prevent my own ability to chase or my own ability to move, and I would take damage in moving in. And it's tactical in a sense, but it isn't in any way lethal. When you throw it, just keep in mind that you're primarily using a zoning tool to move people into or out of a certain space. Don't get your hopes up for big fat damage ultimates. That's Gibraltar's job, even though his is supposed to be the defensive ultimate. I think for the characters to make sense, obviously other than that Gibraltar's a little weak, their ultimate should be swapped, because Gibraltar's is a much more offensive bombardment than the supposedly offensive Bangalore bombardment. So my final summary on the character is that Bangalore is very good in the right hands. The speed boost and smoke grenades make her an awesome legend if you're an aggressive player. If you like to push people, if you like to clean up bots, if you're going to kill enough people to always have those digital threat sites ready to go to see through the smoke, you're going to have a lot of fun with Bangalore. You see a lot of the sweaty Twitch boys and really competitive players playing her as well. And she does have a fair bit of utility with the smoke and with the zoning ultimate as well that you can use for your team if you want to play more passive. But if you're an aggressive person, I think you're going to really enjoy her. Guys, that is all for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.